All right, welcome back to another live episode of the Relationship Series. My name is Gina Spataro, and this is my brother, Sam Spataro, always talking about the matters of the heart and mind. It's been a crazy couple weeks, just adjusting with a lot of the things that have been popping up, but all is good. All is good. How has your week been, Sam?
How about you start? I'm just adding a comment in our comment
Sure.
section.
My week has been a variety of emotions. It's been testing. It's been good. It's been, I think overall it's been okay. It hasn't been excellent, nor has it been horrible. It's just been a good testing time for my time management, first and foremost, my creative skills, getting outside of the box, stepping outside the box, learning some new techniques. But all is good. How about you?
I honestly, my 2021 has been amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know it's kind of weird to say. Like, if I can go back to 2020 and if I could average it out over the course of the 365 days of, how I was physically, spiritually, mentally, all those things, I'd probably be at like a 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say, at the start of this year, I've set some new goals, created some new beliefs, some things that I want to strive towards. With all those things, key areas in my life, and I've been at about 8 or 9. And obviously, it'll tie in a lot of what we're talking about tonight as well.
Fantastic. That's great. Yeah. So before we begin, to support our channel, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We found on our homepage. This helps grow our channel. And also, if you want to share this information with anybody, please don't forget to do that. You never know who needs some part of advice or, information for what they're going through or situation in their life, okay? So let's get right into it. We were talking about the 5 ways to reduce stress. I thought that this would be a great topic because we are entering a new chapter into, something that we had hoped to have closed. But this is also another opportunity to reinvent ourselves. So, there's always good tools to have and to support our well-being, mind, body, and spirit. And I think in any part of our life, there's always going to be transitions. There's always going to be turmoil or ups and downs. And these are just good tactics to help us get through. So the first one I thought was really good was the physical body, taking care of that physical body. Move. Pretty much boils down to move in some way, shape, or form. I know in a lot of parts of the world right now, it's cold. We have the winter months, but it doesn't mean you can't adjust to them. Get outside, get some fresh air, walk, pick up some things that are, heavy, breathe, work on those deep breaths, Wim Hof, the Iceman that they call, is a great believer in healing breaths. And not only does it refuel you, but it almost releases any tension or suffering that you're also going through. So movement is huge. The physical body needs to be taken care of 100%. What are your thoughts, Sam?
So let's go to 2020 and 2021. I think they're both going to present different challenges that we are all facing. And I think one of the challenges isn't so much, the things that are coming at us, whether it's the virus, the lockdowns, the changes in work or the way you go about business, but matter how we interpret it. And anxiety is plaguing pretty much everybody around the world today. And so what does it have to do with the physical body? Anytime you experience anxiety, right away you will feel it inside your body. You will feel tense. Your breathing will be more shallow. You'll actually feel like you have less energy. You won't be breathing. You'll be moving a lot less. And you probably won't feel like exercising. And so for some of you who are watching this, as we come into 2021 and 2020 presented some challenges. Maybe 2021 is looking the exact same. One thing that you get to control, if you want to reduce the stress, which also, some people believe is also anxiety, whatever way you want to interpret it, is there's a couple key things here. When it comes to exercise, and if you're having stress or anxiety, exercise does a few things.
Yeah.
And a couple key things that it does is it increases testosterone. It reduces cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And it also increases your likability to take on more risks.
Yeah.
So if you are experiencing a lot of stress right now with whatever is going on in your life, the very first thing that you need to do is to start moving. One of the greatest things that I learned at a seminar that Tony Robbins did, and that is that emotion is created through motion. The more you move, the more you will breathe, the better you will feel, and then it's easier to take on that thing that's stressing you.
100%. Because don't forget, we are in a time, it's a virtual time in our life where we are sitting a lot, right? We are stagnant. And what happens when water's stagnant, right? So the same thing happens to our body. You got to refuel it. You got to move. You have to bring it back to what it was designed to do. And it's not to say that you have to exert yourself, but just simple daily movements. It's funny because people have those footstep trackers, right? And they've noticed like a 75% reduction from working from home this week rather than, actually being in a place where it was designed for you. So they've noticed that too, right? But it plays a whole role in how you feel, how you respond, and how you just dictate your day, for sure. So the next one is sleep patterns. Why is this important for reducing stress? Well, because your body repairs itself when it sleeps. Okay, so yes, those little trackers that you have can monitor your sleep, your REM sleep, and how much actual active sleep you're getting. Because if you have a very busy mind, that could be interrupting your sleep patterns too. If you're going to bed late, waking up early, and you're feeling restless, of course, that's going to affect your physical body too. You'll feel unmotivated. You'll feel sluggish. You'll feel as if that, your entire day you're thinking about the next time you're going to fall asleep. So sleep patterns are huge. I know for me, it's a huge indicator how my day is going to go if I've had a good night's sleep or if I haven't. How about you, Sam?
So I want to touch base on that with a couple key guidelines here. So the National Sleep Foundation guidelines advise that healthy adults need between 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Yeah. Babies and young children and teens need to have more sleep. And people over 65 should also get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Yeah. I bet you if you took the average consensus over, let's call it Canada or North America, wherever, whoever you want to use, it's probably around 6 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
So sleep patterns is a huge one. And there are some key things that I find make me have a good sleep or really poor sleep. I can't tell you countless times how many times I go to bed. I'm like, hey, tonight I want to have a good sleep. And then what do? I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram. I think Facebook mostly because you get a lot of those pop-up news ads that are always something negative about whether it's coronavirus or whatever it might be, the stock market. And then that's what fuels your mind. They actually say that 1 to 2 hours before sleep, you should cut off all social media.
Right.
So maybe we can tie into some things that will help to have better sleep patterns. But I can tell you when I had tons, and I mean tons of anxiety years ago, my sleep patterns were horrendous. My stress levels were up because of all my day-to-day responsibilities that I had. And plus I was dealing with anxiety at the exact same time. So it was like being hit with a double whammy. Here I am trying to solve, the things that are stressing me that are going on in my day-to-day life. And then meanwhile, I'm hit with anxiety. And a lot of the times what happens to people who do suffer from anxiety is they get insomnia.
Yeah.
and then they can't sleep at all. And I actually, for a very long time, had it where, you know, I couldn't sleep. I'd actually be woken up in the middle of the night from thoughts of thinking about work or what I had to do the next day, or a problem that didn't get solved that day with, you know, whether it be in a relationship or an issue with somebody at work or a family member, whatever it is. You know, it carries into your sleep, which then disrupts your sleep. You wake up, you don't feel rejuvenated, you don't feel fresh, and then that kind of dictates what type of day you're going to have. So, am I able right now to share some tips for having good sleep, or is that something that's going to come next?
And then I will go 100%.
Okay, so some key things that I do, and I recommend you do, that I've learned and cultivated over time, is 2 hours to 1 hour minimum before bed. Make sure you shut off all social media. I mean, everything. Some key things that you can do if you want to watch anything is watch things that are humorous. Things that are enlightening. Read whatever it is you want to do. Also, the next thing I want you to do that is also important, if you're having a lot of stress, you have a busy mind, and you're already thinking about what you're doing the next day. If your wife or husband is a teacher like mine, and she's in the bedroom right now at 9 o'clock at night because she's teaching from home and she's got double the amount of work that would be in a classroom, and she doesn't know when to stop, is what you can do after you shut off the social media is you have to prioritize some things that you just need to shut off. And that is work, investments, any serious topics that might come up in the relationship, problems that might not have been solved. Just turn everything off, and you just really need to find a way to move forward, because it's not really a time to be dealing with the problems. It's like, you know, going to sleep with the engine still running in the car. You have to shut it off. So the very first thing is shut off all social media. And then that'll also be the second thing that you're going to do. A third thing that you can do is you can take some supplementation. I was taking calcium magnesium, which helps with anxiety. Melatonin also is very good. But what I do right now is just a few key things that we just talked about. And also, I have a couple key thoughts that I end on in my night, which is, if I'm not around tomorrow, the problems of today will be irrelevant. So at least tonight, I will have a good sleep, and I can pick up where I left off tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So what you want to do is that will give you kind of like you're almost telling your mind what you're going to do rather than your mind tell you what's going to happen, you know, because, you know, we kind of think that we have no control over it. Actually, it's one of the things that we can control. We can't control any other organ in our life, but we can control what we do with our mind. And those are some key things. Another key thing that helped me also was yoga. I would do yoga and sometimes meditation. If you have time, you don't need a lot of time. I know my wife today was working and she was stressed and she got a neck kink from being in her chair all day. Take 30 seconds, take a minute, get off that chair, you know, just slouch down, let your arms sag, your neck sag, do some breathing techniques. Find time throughout the day to make pivotal points to release that stress. So that way you're not dealing with it all at the end of the day. If that's what you decide to do before you go to bed, do these key things and it will reduce your stress. And also make sure you drink some water, because that also has a lot of calming effects as well.
Yeah. A couple tips. Those were great tips. You know, making sure that your room is dark. So reducing any light sources. If you have alarm clocks, if you have your phone in your room when you sleep, you know, any buzzes or dings that go off in the middle of the night, put your phone away, put it on airplane mode, maybe in the bathroom or in the next room, so that you will still hear your alarm, but keep it out of the bedroom, any of those devices. Also, weighted blankets are amazing to help you sleep a little bit better and soundly. White noise is also a good one. Some people really deal well with white noise, and the heat in the room, in the house. So sometimes even the reduction of heat within the house helps aid in a better sleep as well. So great tips.
Yeah, good points there.
Yeah. So next one is your consumption. to reduce stress. So what are you consuming throughout your day? You know, what is it that you're listening to? Who are you around? um, you know, because it can be excessive. You know, if you're always around the banter and the negativity and the doom and gloom instead of seeing the positives in it, it's going to increase that stress. If you are already prone to, you know, high stress levels, you know, if your cortisol levels are stressed, if your adrenaline is pumping all the time, you know, your fight and flight mode is on, you are going to be associated with, you know, an increase of maybe sleep problems. You know, you're going to have increase of bodily issues. Maybe you're going to feel tension in your shoulders or your neck a little bit more. It comes from somewhere, right? Maybe you're going to get more headaches. Media is huge. Realize what you are consuming throughout your day and how much. You can put timers on these things so that you understand actually how much you are consuming. It's very interesting because time will just pass by, right? And you'll just go through your day thinking that's just normal. But if you put a timer on those devices and you actually track how much you are consuming throughout the day, it is astonishing. It really, really is. But once again, to reduce the stress, possibly reduce the consumption of these certain things, or substitute it with a book that is nonfiction, you know, something that you can learn from. Pick up a hobby, go outside more, you know, make a schedule for yourself, right? What are your thoughts on that, Sam?
I mean, you've hit it right on the nose. And as much as you can reduce all those things, it's also important to reduce what you're watching.
Yeah.
I know for myself in 2020, I was consumed with a lot more things that I wouldn't normally, watch because of everything that was going on. And it really affected me. I mean, it caused a lot more anxiety and stress and worry and fear. And it had a really profound on my physiology. It made me, not as happy, not as energetic, not as optimistic, not as alive, right? And so in 2021, I set a lot of really big goals. And maybe for some of you who are watching this, you're looking to find a better way. Maybe you're looking for the light with all these obstacles and challenges that we're facing today. And one key thing that I did, and I'm going to recommend to you, is I basically did a social media cleanse. I went on my YouTube channel, my Facebook, my Instagram, and I am literally deleting feeds and people that aren't bringing value and positivity to my life. Now, we all, in some way, shape, or form, can be negative. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm some perfect guy and Mr. Positive, because that would be far from the truth.
Right.
I wish I was a lot more positive than I was today. However, in order to be more positive and to reduce that stress, you have to be more conscious of how much time and what you are consuming throughout the day. So some key things I did, like I said, is I unsubscribed to some channels on YouTube that were just showing up right away on my phone that had to do a lot of the negative things that are going on. So that was one thing. And actually tonight on my Facebook, I unfriended somebody who was sharing some political view from some news channel. And she basically said she hated, this person who is a politician, and she effing hated everybody else that supported him. Well, I have family members that share those very similar beliefs. And I, for one, have my own political view. Which I stand for. And at the same time, while I don't necessarily agree with, a left or a right point of view, we live in a free country, people, as far as I know, where you have the right to wake up every day and to believe and think as you please, not to be judged, not to be ridiculed and shamed. And so I decided to unfriend the person. That's it, cold turkey. I wrote out a goal sheet this year, and anything that doesn't coincide with it, I either exit out or I add it in if it follows that guideline. this year, my friends, you people who are watching this, you have to stand guard at your mind and protect it. And if you want to reduce your stress, you have to be a lot more intelligent about what you're doing with this every day. And why is that? Why is it so important today? Well, you only had access to this 10 or 20 years ago when you got home. It was called a television.
Yeah.
Today, you have a walking television in your pocket.
Yeah.
Okay. And unless you use it intelligent, this will turn into a bigger addiction than heroin or anything else on the planet that exists. And so be wise, be smart. And if you want to reduce stress and anxiety in your life today, make those conscious choices.
Agreed. So on that note, the fourth one is know your triggers. What are your triggers for your stress? Okay. What is it? Is it being inside all day? Is it, is work a trigger? How do you deal with that? Is it having kids and work to do at home at the same time? What is it that is triggering this stress? Because it will be debilitating if it is not understood. It can amount to, like Sam said, it can amount to anxiety and depression and all those things if it's not understood. How do you think, there's so many triggers for people and their stress, but how did you deal with your triggers when dealing with high stress situations, Sam? Because sometimes it's just entering a room with certain people. Sometimes, and you can't deny access to certain people, right? So how do you manage that? What do you need to do?
So it's actually funny you're mentioning this because I actually wrote something out that correlates to exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
And so when you talk about triggers, something that triggers you, you have to believe something first in order for it to have a trigger.
Right.
Right. And so it all starts with beliefs.
Yeah.
And so what I decided to do is I wanted to write this down. So how to handle stress? How do you want to reduce stress? The very first thing you need to do is you have to start creating new beliefs. And so what do I mean by that? How you see things that are happening around you. These things that are happening around you that are in your life that are the stressors. It's not stress that causes it or these triggers. It's the things that are compromise your life, which are family, relationships, money, a job, a business, your health. But then when things come up that have to do with them, the triggers are, what are your beliefs about those things when they happen the way you don't plan for them or the way that you don't like that they come out? And so I would say, how do you deal with triggers? How did I deal with my anxiety? So one key thing about anxiety and anxiety sufferers is there's a couple key characteristics. One, constant worry. You're always seeing the worst in things, right? You're always worrying about, the what ifs of the world. What if this happened? What if that happened? The second thing is you have a tendency to ruminate on things that are happening in your life rather than take action.
Right.
And so without action, you will ruminate, and that will just trigger stresses, which are usually caused by a picture you create with a belief regarding what it is that you're dealing with. And so for me, after dealing with anxiety constantly for 3 years straight, panic attacks, anxiety attacks every day, 3 years straight, no shit. Okay. I lost 50 pounds. Like I thought I was going to some crazy house. But what I did was when my doctor gave me some antidepressants and some anxiety pills, thanks to our mother who's watching, who gave us at a very young age a different way to deal with health things, deal with health with naturopathic, different remedies and exposing us to naturopathic doctors and medicines, is I believed in the deep down inside that there had to be a better way. And so I did lots of research and I went online and I found this program that I decided to try on a whim. And through a lot of the principles and the foundations in that program, I started to get triggered less. I started to get stressed less. I started to have less anxiety because when those situations would pop up, and my natural triggers, which are those beliefs that would pop up, I would automatically stop and replace it with a new belief. And over time, it became my natural response, which then made me think something different, do something different with my body, and it created a different outcome in my life. And so the beliefs are what are controlling you. And so if you want to get triggered less and reduce your stress, pause, take a deep breath, do not react, but be meditative, be mindful in that moment and watch that thought, and then decide to come up with something new, a new thought, a new belief, and then decide to take action on that thought and see before you do anything what the outcome will be. Right. Will it be worth making these changes? Will it be worth going down that path? And I want to share with you, because I had a coaching call tonight, and this was something that someone shared me. It really ties into this. Is really special. Before you speak, let your words pass through 3 gates. The first gate is it true? The second gate, is it necessary? And the third gate, is it kind? And so if you don't want to get triggered, you have to learn to use the new brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. And that's where all the glory, the joy, the gratitude, and the happiness is. If you continue to use our older brain, which is usually where all the stress and the anxiety comes from, which is the reptilian brain, it's there to protect you. It's there to show you what's wrong constantly. So if you want to eliminate stress in 2021, if you want to have an anxiety-free 2021, change your beliefs, pause before you do anything and say anything, see what you want to see what you want to say, and then see what actions you need to take and look at what the outcomes will be, and then decide to move. And I can guarantee you your life will change and you'll have a shit ton less stress.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Last one is mind over matter.
Yeah.
So how do you control that mind when things start to build up? For me, I know it's like you said, you're going through that thought process in your head, the belief, okay, is it true? Am I safe? Am I protected? Am I, is everything going to be okay in this moment? Meditation is huge for me. Self-talk, that whole self-talk process, like, okay, what is it that I'm worrying about? What's overcoming, what's taking over my day right now? What is it that I can control? What's in my control? What's out of my control? And a lot of the times there's a lot that it is in your control, but you just get out of control in those thoughts, right? So mind over matter. And don't forget, the consumption and the lack of movement will create a stagnant mind for sure. It will create stagnation, which will breed and breed more stagnation. So turn those thoughts in your head into positive thoughts. Turn those thoughts that are consuming you, that are, debilitating. What can you do? Breath, breathe, meditation, self-talk, affirmations. For me, if I find myself in a big rut, I get a whiteboard marker and I'll start writing things on my washroom mirror. So every time I see something, it's like a visual reminder, right? A reset button. But do you have any other suggestions for people in the mindset?
So, we're kind of talking about something that mind over matter. Mind over matter, to me basically says, do you have any power over your mind?
Right.
Right. And so with new science, that is proven correct.
Yeah.
And I'll tie in some key things to, years ago, obviously, when I was dealing with a lot of the anxiety, where I just didn't think I had any power over anything that was going on. And my naturopaths shared with me neuroplasticity, which is this new scientific breakthrough where there's scientific research that has shown that we have the capability to rewire ourselves. And so what I learned to do from doing a lot more research is, especially with stress or anxiety, let's talk about anxiety especially, and I'll use airplanes, for example. I've been going on airplanes since I was 24 years old, and I can tell you exactly what happens. night, 2 nights before, I get nervous, I get anxious, I think my plane's going to crash, I think a terrorist is going to come on there and attack me, and I show up at the airport and I'm in constant anxiety and stress. Maybe some of you can relate, maybe some of you can't, and here's what follows. I hit the toilet 6 times. My nerves are shot. I'm trying to find ways to stay calm. I think the plane, the wings are going to fall off, the plane's going to crash, the engines are going to die, and while I'm on the plane, I hear every single screw. I hear every single creak. I think the worst is going to happen. And I have taken calming pills, cotton balls, alcohol, you name it. And so once I discovered neuroplasticity and this, that there was enough scientific research to prove that you have the capability to change how you think, I then decided to do a couple key things. And one thing that I decided to do was I decided to turn all that worry into excitement. How cool is it that I have the opportunity to go on the plane? I really have nothing to worry about if you look at the facts about how many planes crashes and what the likelihood is. What you want to do is you want to chase the facts.
Right.
That's how you reduce the stress. That's how you reduce the anxiety with whatever it is that you're dealing with right now. My wife, with her job is under a lot of stress, like you. Mm-hmm. But if you think about all the expectations that are tied to what you think you need to provide, but if you can get into a place of appreciation and gratitude, which is a couple things that I shared with her, which is you're still lucky enough to work. Yeah. There's a lot of people that don't have that opportunity and chance. You have the capacity to capture little boys and girls' hearts and minds and make a difference at a time where they're looking up to you like their hero.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of key fundamental things that you can still do while not worrying about all the things that you can't control,
right,
which is the stress, which is the anxiety. And so if you want to get into a place of joy and happiness and relax like I did, the past 2-3 times I've been on a plane, I take nothing. It's the first time in my life and I have fun, I'm relaxed, I'm enjoying it because over time, because of those new beliefs that I created, they are my automatic response. It's what my body feels and believes, and the outcome is completely different, and it will be for you.
Absolutely. So is there anything else you want to add before we end the ways to reduce stress? I think these are great ways to reduce stress in this time because you're right, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of consumption of media. You can go down any route that you choose, right? Opportunity, or you can feel stuck, or victimhood. But know that in all of that, this is a test of resiliency also, right? How are you going to pull yourself out of this?
So I think there's a couple key fundamental things. So for those of you who don't know, my sister and I, we also do relationship coaching. And one of our core principles is that we believe is that relationships are matters of the heart and the mind, both. You can't have one without the other. So if you want to create that type of relationship, it's going to be impossible if you don't have the proper tools to change. And I can tell you, trust me on this, if you don't trust anybody, 2021 is going to present a ton of challenges and obstacles. And one of the great things that pulls you out of that is a support system, is a tribe of people that would be there for you when you can't pick yourself up, when you don't feel like pushing forward, when you don't feel like you have the proper tools to change, because you might have little kids that you need to speak to. You might have a wife or a husband that, you might have to come home and let them know about the things that are going on at work or in your business that might not be that well. You're going to need a support group, whether it's us or somebody. Pick someone, pay the money, and I guarantee you it'll make a world of a difference in this year coming. And so make sure you have a support network. If it's not coaching, if it's not us, go on YouTube, regularly watch things that are going to improve the quality of your life and your relationships, because if you aren't happy in your relationship, you will not be happy, period. It will affect all things in your life. I learned that from Tony Robbins, and I truly believe that in my heart and soul. And I wish you nothing but a great year ahead. And, keep following us.
On that note, this is the relationship series, always talking about the matters of the heart and mind. And we will see you next time. Ciao for now.